Good evening, precious viewers. It's exciting to have you join us on another interesting, educative, and exciting episode of Ask the Counsellors. We are committed to serving you, and we are committed to giving you what is needed to make your marriage and your family work. Marriage is very important. The family is very important. It said that the family is the basic building block of every society. What that means is that without family, no society can thrive or no society can survive. And what that means is that marriage is at the pivotal part, or marriage is at the essential part of the family. And here on Ask the Counsellors, it's our duty and it's our goal and purpose to make sure that we help you to put those building blocks in place aright and help you to meander the turbulent waters of marriage. Many people have been blessed by this program, and I believe that you'll be blessed as well. If you want to watch our previous episodes, you just go to YouTube, Bishop Charles Ajinasari, you go to the playlist and you see Ask the Counsellors as one of the playlists, and you can watch all the episodes we've had. We've discussed quite a number of things that will help you. We also encourage you to invite if you're a woman, to invite your husband. If you're a man, to invite your wife. If you're in a relationship, to invite your spouse, your spouse to be as well, to join in, so that both of you can learn and both of you can benefit and both of you can put in the corrective measures to make that union work. This evening we are starting a discussion on in-laws. We've had quite a number of questions on where people are asking about how to handle their in-laws, and today we want to discuss. I know that for some people it's a problem, and we want to discuss how to handle your in-laws and what kind of relationship you can have with them. My first question to the panel is, we talk about in-laws. In our culture, it said that you marry a whole family, so it means you are married to the entire family. When we talk of in-laws, how can we, in our culture, define it? Outside, it's very easy to define what in-laws are: your mother, your spouse's mother or father. In our environment, it's different. It's an entire family, and everybody is considered an in-law. So how do we define and put the demarcation for who in-laws are and should be?
An in-law is a relative of your spouse,
okay,
in our context, and it includes their parents, their siblings, their uncles, their grandparents, and cousins. They are all part of your in-laws.
Okay.
So in our context, that is what we mean when we say in-laws.
Okay, all right. Before one enters into marriage, is there anything they need to know about in-laws before going in? Is there anything? I see Reverend are just smiling. Because it looks like a lot of people go in unprepared, and they go in and they see, that, aside their spouse, there's a relationship they need to have with in-laws.
Before you get into a relationship or a marriage, you have to know your in-law, where you are coming from, especially where you don't come from the same tribe, or you don't come from the same area. You come from different environments. You have to know where you are going before you enter into that relationship, or you say I do to your partner. Sometimes, before we get into marriage, we are told that our mothers-in-law are witches sometimes. A mother-in-law can be a terror in your marriage. So you go into the marriage with an eye, waiting to see your mother-in-law behave in a certain manner. Then, if you don't take care, you also take action. So before you get into a relationship, you have to know the culture and all that before.
I think we should.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit too. If you don't get to know your in-laws, it's not just your mother-in-law, because like the definition we gave, it involves at least but your father-in-law, your mother-in-law, your brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws, you need to know them. You need to know how they do their things. They might have a certain culture. You need to know a little bit of it. Otherwise, they will become witches and wizards, or normally, like the mother-in-law, it's called monster-in-law. But you can have a very wonderful relationship with your in-laws if only you make time to know them, and you know that you are not just going to marry this person, but you are marrying into a family.
So where did that description of mothers-in-law come from? Where you hear it in stories, you know, everybody cautions you when you go and be careful about your mother-in-law. Where is it something that is you know, is there a history to it? Is there, you know, and why the mothers and not the fathers? Why is that?
I think that when I say that, I'll leave it for them. I think that because mothers spend 9 months, they get pregnant with a child, and they spend most of the time with their children, and mostly every mother's son is his boyfriend, sort of. So it's the sons who go to marry, and then their wives begin to think that the mother. Unfortunately, in the past, there were certain, because most of the women were not working, when their son married, they could leave and go and live with them, or and then at times when their son has a child, they will come and stay, etc. And some wives couldn't stand the fact that their mother-in-law could also feel that this guy is part of me. And so they thought that once they got married, the mother-in-law should just cut off completely from the son or from their husband. And that is where the problem comes from.
Most problems in relationships stem from selfishness and what people want. Like Bishop said, there's a mother, perhaps the only child or something, raise her up. In some cases, perhaps the father even died, and she was the only person who was raising the mother. Now he's old. Now he's now going to reap the results of his labor. And then this young girl comes. I'm going to marry your son, and then it happened for some of them. I was just reading something on the web right now, and there was this young lady who was saying that her 2 children with a guy, and the mother says that the boy is her husband, and that when she marries him, the boy will not be able to take care of the family like he used to take care of the family, and because of that, the mother doesn't want the marriage to go on and things like that. See, and so that is the reason why, like Bishop said, it's the mother who goes when the first child comes, the mother who comes and perhaps overstays and and their room is just a chamber or hall and like those kind of things. So it is all boils on the flesh, the nature, that kind of, and like Bishop said, the lady also comes with that notion. The mother-in-law may even be very good, but he has in mind that mother-in-laws are trouble. So hey, my mother-in-law is coming. And because of that, it creates problem because so it's because of the nature of man. The selfishness of man.
I think we need education in this mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. We don't have much problem with fathers-in-law and daughters-in-law. So I had a little problem with my father-in-law, but
so if there's going to be a problem, then can't one decide that, okay, then I don't want to have a relationship with my in-laws after I marry, just to avoid problem? Is that possible?
It's not possible, because the man you are going to marry is somebody's son. The woman you are going to marry is somebody's daughter. And the fact that you are marrying does not mean that that relationship is off. No, you don't cut off that relationship. That relationship continues, but like Reverend Ajo said, everybody must understand their role. The mother is a mother. the wife is a wife. The mother cannot play the wife's role, and the wife cannot play the mother's role. And so when we understand that, we live in harmony, because you need that relationship. Now, when there are times that you give birth, and the lady's mother, normally the women prefer that their mother will be there. But there are times their mother will come and they are also tired, and they will need their husband's mother to also come and help them. And so if you don't have a good relationship, there is no way they can come in and help you. And you see, because every son grows up with the family, if you don't befriend your in-laws, what you do is you tear your husband apart, because your husband is now caught between a rock and a hard place, because he's been listening to his mother all these years. Now, the mother is whispering to him that the wife is creating trouble. The wife is whispering to him that the mother is creating trouble. You are tearing his heart. And so it's very important, when you get married, you befriend your in-laws. It's very important.
How does one go about the relationship between, themselves and their in-laws? How do they chart that cause? Should they be a close one? Should they be a cordial one? How do I determine how, because now it's inevitable, I must relate to my in-laws. How do I handle that relationship? How do I choose how to go about it?
Yeah, I would say that there are general rules and there are specific rules, because some of the problems are not the same depending on who your in-laws are. There are some in-laws who are well-to-do, they are educated, they are working, but they don't really need your money. But at times they can even help you. And there are some in-laws who are all in the village. There's only we who are in Accra. and every month there's something must go in order for them to be able to have a comfortable life. So and like Mama said, there are some in-laws where the woman is widowed. Your father is gone and left your mother, and you are the eldest son, and you are working in Accra. Definitely you must take care of your mother. And so the scenarios are different, but there are general rules like the independence of the family, that you and your wife, you are independent. General rules like you don't side with your family against your wife. General rules like love and respect. The same way you respect your father and your mother, you should give the same respect to your father-in-law and your mother-in-law. See, so generals of love and Christian maturity. You're a Christian, and so there are cases where, on one side, no children are there. On the other side, plenty of small children, uncles, and that kind of thing. And you realize that it appears that, as for you, every day is your mother who is coming. Every day is your brother who is coming. Every day is your sister who is coming. And there are cases like that. But if you're a believer and you read that it's not a situation that your husband created, that you have plenty of that kind of thing. You came to meet that situation. So you must be able to look at it and say, this is the situation that I have come to meet. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. We go out to other people to help them. So if these are my husband's brothers and sisters and they need help, let us do our best to be able to help them without thinking, now what about me? See? So there are different scenarios and they can be treated differently.
Yes, I think that, like Reverend just said, that there are boundaries that must be set. If we don't set the boundaries too, there might be problems. So it starts from the courtship.
That's right.
Whilst you are courting. Now, when you are going to visit your in-law, your first impression matters. So if you go to visit your in-law and you create a bad impression, already is something else. And when you marry too, I remember when we got married, my biological mom came to visit us very early, and when she came, my wife cooked for her. My biological mom loves pepper. We don't like pepper much. So when she cooked for her, she was complaining.
Your mom?
My mom. She was complaining that, look, there was too much, and there was no pepper in the food. So I said, okay, I understand. No complaints again. From today, whilst you are here, I'll give you money to go to the market, buy your stuffs, cook your own food. I don't want, because it's enough to create tension in the house. I'm not going to allow that tension in my house. You cook your food. This is your money. And it gave me peace.
But how did she take it?
She was okay. Because...
But that's Mama Vivi's kitchen.
Yes.
She was okay. I was okay.
Even
I
with
felt
Charles
relieved.
saying this, when I go there, I can't just look at my daughter-in-law cooking and I won't go and help.
Okay.
At least even if I'm not cooking, I should be there washing the dishes and helping, just to create the bondedness.
Okay.
When she was cooking, I was also helping, putting things together for her.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I don't think...
So there must be some of those rules. There must be rules. I told my siblings, I said, when you have a misunderstanding with my wife, I'll choose sides.
That's right.
So don't. You see, so I set the ground rules before it started. So they all said, hey, as for Charles, you can't talk about his wife. So if there was anything, they would deal with me. They won't go there. They know it's a no-go area. Because when your siblings and your parents begin to give you pressure on your spouse, it's enough to make you behave in a way you are not supposed to behave. And from the onset, they must know that, look, give us time. Let's build our relationship. Otherwise, you will destroy our relationship.
So the one to put the boundaries is not the in-law, but the one whose parents or whose family it is.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So, and mostly it's you, the man. You see, mostly the women's or your wife's people normally feel that this is their home.
Okay.
They normally don't pose much problem like the man's people. The man's people, you'll be shocked that in some families, when the brother of the man comes, he thinks he should be served like his brother who is the husband. But that is not his wife. You see, and some of them take the scripture that says that wives, submit to your own husband. They think it's women, submit to every man. But that is not it. And so when the sisters come, they expect to be treated like the man is being treated. But it's, you see, yes, the lady is married into a family, but she has not married you, the other family members. She's married into. But the man, she's married to him. So it's very important for the man, because you see, the man is not only a provider, he's a protector. So he has to protect his wife from all these, I'm using a very cautious word, because when you allow, your relatives will become hawks, and they would, they will pick her. And so you must protect her from. Yes.
That is true. It starts from, like Osofo said, these are pertinent questions that we ask during courtship. You can't compare the two families. Like Osofo said, there are two extremes. Some are rich, they have all the resources, so they might not need you, they might even be helping you. On the other hand, some are also now coming up, or they don't have at all, but they have made your spouse. So you have to have that respect, the honor for your in-laws. At the same time, parents-in-law should also respect their daughter or their son-in-law. Give them that respect. If you don't respect your children, you would take it over to their spouses. But build respect for your children after a certain age, especially when they are on their own and they are starting their families. Give them that respect. Trust them that just as you also started and made mistakes, allow them to also make the mistakes, and they will grow out of the mistakes and become what you think you are. Most of the time, it's sisters-in-law and mothers-in-law who give problem, because when they were growing, you see, they may be playing with their brother. They may even be holding the breast, teasing now the woman has coming. You have to be very cautious of how you handle the woman's husband, but your brother. There should be a boundary. There should be a line of demarcation. After I said, we should learn to change and to have understanding of now time. So some of these problems, we need to understand it and try to solve it.
We've spoken about how spouses should handle their in-laws. If there's an in-law watching, or a mother or a father watching, or one who is preparing for their kids to marry, how should they handle their in-laws? How should they handle the relationship with their
in-laws,
sons-in-laws and daughters-in-laws?
Like Reverend just said, once your children grow, you must know that they are adults. And if they are adults, you allow them to decide who they marry. And if they've decided and married the person, then you have to respect them. They are not a child anymore. So you don't even volunteer counsel unless they solicit it or they ask you for it. And then when you give them counsel, they are not obligated to take it, even though they might have asked you. You must come to that realization that, look, this is my son, this is my daughter, but they asked me this counsel. I gave it to them and they didn't take it, or they didn't use it. And it shouldn't be any big deal for you. So that the next time they come, and the last time, the one I told you, you didn't use it. It shouldn't be so. And it should be such that you should train, or you should make them understand that, look, you won't bankroll their lifestyle. However, if they need help and you have the ability to help, you would help, but you won't bankroll their lifestyle. Some of those parameters, if they are set, it will help bring respect into the relationship. And the daughter-in-laws also must know that, look, these people, they are there for my good. They are not against me. But that is when a mother and a father-in-law are really also for the good of that lady. But not when a mother or a mother-in-law has become a monster-in-law. When there's nothing that the lady does that pleases you. You are always seeing mistakes. You don't like the way she walks about. You don't like the way she fixes her hair. You don't like her dressing. You don't like you wish you were the one still taking care of your son. There are mothers whose sons go to marry and they behave as if they wish they were the people still taking care of the son. They want to still cook and go and give it to the son. They don't want the son to eat the wife's food. They once a while, yes, the son would, or the mother can decide to cook and send to the son, but the man must decide that I'll eat my wife's food. It's very important. Because you see, before he who feeds you, or it is said that the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. And so you want the wife, because he feeds him, if she's not feeding him, how can he be bedding her?
Okay, so I would love to be hearing, because all of you have sons and daughters who are married, so how you treat your in-laws. But Mama, let's...
Sons and daughters-in-law should be embraced into the family. If your son or your daughter marries and comes into the family and you don't embrace that person, she will just look on. I remember not a few days ago, a lady came to me and said, my son is going to marry. And the lady looks like she's so far away. She's not coming close. So she was asking me what to do. And I told her, embrace her. No matter what, let her feel part of the family.
How do you do that?
Oh, you are in the kitchen cooking. And she's in the living room. Call her to come around. Give her some little assignment to do. Maybe, can you help cut this tomato? You know, talk to her. She was telling me the lady doesn't talk, she doesn't interact. And I said, yes. Because you are not talking, she might also not talk. Because she feels that you are mature and you are elderly, and she can't just come and just throw herself to you. No, unless you talk to her, she might not talk. So embrace her, talk to her, engage her. Oh, so and so, can you give me this? Can you give me water? What are your plans for the wedding? What are you doing? You know, engage her so that she will feel at home. Then she can also confide in you, trust you that this mother, where I'm going, I'm being received. Otherwise, she can still stay in the living room and be reading her paper or book, or just playing with her phone. If you don't engage her, she'll just be there. And it will get into to the marriage. If you don't take her, she comes and she just looks on. She doesn't feel part of the family. So we should embrace our in-laws. The way you treat your son-in-law, you treat your son-in-law, treat your daughter-in-law the way you treat your daughters.
You know, sometimes a parent-in-law want to see the kind of home you are coming from, so they will most of the time sit back. So if I'm in the kitchen as the mother, I expect that my daughter-in-law who is coming in would walk to the kitchen and help, and so they will be more quiet. Should mothers and fathers-in-law also take the initiative? So, for instance, like the example you gave, should the mother-in-law be able to pick up a phone and be the one to call and say, find out how you are doing, how are things going with you and my son? But you realize that in our culture, it's not like that. Normally, they want to see or gauge the kind of home you are coming from. Is this person, this man or this woman from a good home? You know, if they are from a good home, we expect certain things from them and all that. Then most of the time, that's where you begin to find the problems. But
I want to believe that, like, even your own children, they have different temperaments. The way they approach things. You have sons who are sanguines, who are all over, and you have some who are laybacks, and you have daughters who are also layback or sanguines. So if you are a mother who have been introduced to your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law, just don't think that they will behave like your children. Already that boundary is there. That fear, that mindset that parents-in-law can be something. Bishop will say monsters-in-law. I don't know what the male side would be.
Foxes-in-law.
So, what I did is, my daughter-in-law is not a Ghanaian.
Okay.
And their culture is different. And naturally, she's a quiet person. You can sit with her. If you don't start a conversation, there's not going to be a conversation.
Okay.
And I'm also that type. If you don't start conversation, I also do not start a conversation. And so initially, it was a difficult thing for us. But I just understood that he is not the type that talks.
That's your daughter-in-law?
Yes,
Okay.
that talks much. But she does things. She would like, what, Ma, should I do this for you? Ma, it's always Ma, Ma. But you can't sit down and have a long conversation with her. So you just know that this is how she is. And I had to inquire. I asked a few Nigerians here how this particular tribe behave. And it's like, if you are an in-law, it's like you are rated far above their parents. So they can't just come close to you if you don't bring them close to you. So I manage that. But my son-in-law is that sanguine to me, but he has a way that we relate. And because I'm also not one that talks much, it's like, what to say, oh yeah. So and my son-in-law is able to come when they come to, he comes home with the wife. And that is the best thing. You can't visit your in-laws alone. You always have to go with your spouse. So they come once a while. I think in a year they are able to visit about 4 times in a year. So I think that's all right.
Because you live in the same city.
We live in the same city. But those in Kumasi too, if you have not been for COVID, a quarter they come. They come. And when they come,
Yes, it's in New Zealand.
Yes. But the conversation, we thank God for the WhatsApp now. So, how are you? How is work? So, at least.
Okay. So, Reverend Uncle, so how do you handle your son-in-law and your daughter-in-law?
Let me give this scriptural example.
Okay.
Laban was a son-in-law, father-in-law to Jacob. You know the relationship. Jacob said, "You cheated me 10 times," and at the end of the day, because of the relationship, when Jacob wanted to leave, he called the wives and said, "You know how your father has treated me," and that kind of thing. And so they left. Jacob chased them and those kind of thing.
Laban chased them.
Laban chased them and those kind of thing. That was different from how Moses related to his father-in-law. Moses was also a father-in-law and Jethro. And when God called Moses and he went home, he didn't tell Jethro what he was going. So let me go and see my people in Egypt and see how they were doing. Jethro said, "No problem. Take your wife and your 2 sons." They went, and then apparently at a point in time, because of the assignment, Jethro came to take the wife and the 2 sons back. And in the wilderness, Jethro came with the father, with the daughter and the 2 sons to Moses in the wilderness. And when you read the account, you realize that Moses, Aaron, all the people honored Jethro. They honored him together. And the next day, Moses was an anointed man of God. I mean, Jethro didn't have half of his anointing. But when he saw him sitting and doing it, he realized that there is something wrong. The way you are treating the people, you will die. So he gave him that advice that had become the model for sales management and things like that. So you realize that the 2 cases are different. So the father-in-laws, the father-in-law should be able to love, respect, because your son is old. The way you treat, because he is old, he's now my friend. We talk, we discuss things, and that kind of thing. And when there is an issue, I discuss with him. When we visit, I love Agosia. Anytime I see her, I make sure that she feels comfortable because it's saying that kind of thing.
Who is Akosia?
Kwesi is my son. Akosia is my daughter-in-law. You see, so and because they are staying in Accra, but because they are staying alone, the interaction is not much. They brought the little boy to come and stay with us when Akosia had a job. So the boy is with us for some time. They come and take him when they think that they have a problem. They need some space. They bring the boy and then call in the evening. We discuss. Things are. We don't have much problem with
and then your son-in-law.
Yeah, my son-in-law. Unfortunately for me, because at that time I was a counselor and they were doing the wedding here, I even canceled him. I canceled him and my daughter.
You didn't squeeze him small.
So you also see me as a father. They become a father, and if there are anything that they need to do here, they call, and then we do it for them. The relationship is very good.
I had a question.
I recused myself with all my children in their marriage counseling because I felt that, yes, on the personal level, I can. But I wanted them to have the official counseling also. So I made them go through the counseling so that they don't take it for granted. And my daughter-in-law, it's like my daughter.
So you have two daughters-in-law?
Yes.
Oh.
Your daughter-in-law. My daughters-in-law, you know, the daughters-in-law. It's difficult to say, but they are all like my daughters. I have a very good flow with them, and my son-in-law, I also have a very good flow with him. You see, like the story Reverend Ankuma said, when Jethro went to see Moses, he suggested, he said, pray about it. If God makes it so, then you take it. So you don't just say that I'm counseling them and they must take it. And that's how I've related with my daughters-in-law and then my son-in-law. I'm Bishop Charles Ajinasari. Even as we prepare to go for our elections on the 7th of December, I want to encourage you that you must vote because your vote counts. Some of you may think that, well, it doesn't matter, your vote is so little, but it doesn't matter how little. Maybe your vote will determine where it will go. And also don't forget that if you don't vote, then you are not qualified to talk on the decisions and the policies made by any government. Beloved, as we go to vote, please, when you go, be peaceful. Don't create any problem in the place. And don't cause any violence. God hates violence. In Psalm 11 and verse 5, the Bible says, he who creates or loves violence, God hates with a passion. As we go to vote in this election, make sure you invite your friends, your relatives, and you all go to vote. When you finish voting, if you are not among the party agents that should wait and be there to monitor what is happening, please go home safely. Make sure you don't have any unpalatable encounter with the security forces. I want to also encourage our security forces. We thank God for your lives and thank you for what you are doing for us. However, on this election, we want to say, don't choose sides with any political party, but instead protect our nation and protect the integrity of this nation. The EC, I want to say that for all that you are doing, God bless you. But make sure this election is an election that will be recorded around the world, that our Electoral Commission performed creditably, they were impartial, and they did not show any favoritism whatsoever. Let this election be an election that is free, fair, and transparent. I encourage the political parties and their supporters not to engage in unruly acts and fights and speeches that heighten tension. Instead, let's all be people with knowing that Ghana is bigger than any one of us. Let's put Ghana first and let's see what God will do for us. We'll be blessed. God bless our homeland, Ghana. And I wish you well. And may your party, the one you are praying for, may they win. God bless you.
Last week, there was something the panelists said which struck a chord, which was quite very important, which was pivotal in dealing with in-laws. And Bishop said that it is the man's responsibility to make sure that he draws the boundaries for the way his family relates to his wife, which was very, very, very important. And so I'm going to begin on that note, and I'm going to pose my first question to the counselors. If someone is watching and the person's husband has not really stood in for them, you know, you hear stories where the man's family, treats the woman anyhow, what should the person do? How should they go about it? How should they go about informing their husbands or prompting them that this is a job that you are supposed to do? How do they handle that?
That's why it's important that spouses watch this together. And then those who are not married yet and are preparing to get married also need to watch this. But if you are a woman and your husband has not done that, one of the best things to do is to let him watch this with you. Either live like we are doing, or after the meeting, you tell him you found something interesting, and then you play it and both of you watch it. Or normally women, you by all means, when you are blessing him, after blessing him, he shouldn't be the kind of man who just after, he just turns off and sleeps. So after blessing him, you talk. So when you talk, you can put it in. Your siblings, your mother, your father, the way they are handling me, the counselors said that if you could, the man is supposed to help the woman, protect her from these things. And I'm sure that if you do it nicely, it will sink. And if you're a man and you are watching and you didn't do that from the beginning, so it might be looking difficult for you, still find a way to let your family know that, yes, I know that you people love me, but if you love me, then you will love my spouse and you will want my marriage to succeed. If you want my marriage to succeed, then don't interfere with my marriage. Otherwise, you create problems for the relationship.
So my next question is, so how do you deal with an in-law who seems to have so much influence on your spouse and on the marriage? How do you deal with an in-law who seems to exert so much influence? Everything the in-law says, that's what either the man or the woman is going to do. And everything they say, that's how the marriage becomes. That's what happens in the marriage. How do you handle an in-law like that?
An in-law can only have that authority depending on the couple, because he will give instructions. How do you respond to it? So normally,
he gives suggestions.
He gives suggestions. So how do you respond? Normally, the problem is when one of the in-laws, either the man or the woman, is so attached to the mother or father, and therefore listens to her or him. So that's why the problem is. And so, just like Bishop said, the other partner can draw the attention. There's always a way of discussing pertinent issues in marriage. The morning, like say, after he's been blessed and things like that. That this is what is happening. I think that we must correct it. Say it in a way that is respectful and it will sink. There are times you can even bring an elderly person, somebody they all respect, in. Quite recently, I had a good friend, and they visited me, and they visited me. And something was going on the way he was treating the wife. And the wife said, as for this one, Pastor, I will say it. This is what my husband is. In fact, I've even seen that that problem, and I've called the man and said, the way you treat your wife like that, I don't think it's right. And so when they visited, he said it, and while they were there, we talked about it. The next time I visited, the man said, "Oh, we are trying. We are we are doing our best. The advice you give." So there's always a way to find out, to draw your husband's attention that these things are not right. Let's correct it.
These issues are very delicate issues. There are some men who are so they've bonded with their mother in such a way that it's difficult to just part with their moms. So I'm just thinking about how somebody you've stayed with for about 26 years, 27 years, and you are just married, and you are going to tell your mom, I'm married, so don't come close to my marriage, you know.
You are not saying, okay, finish.
you have to think about it, find a way of talking to your mom to be able to understand that, hey, you just married and you are putting me away. Some women
Some
can.
rivalry will
Yeah.
come.
Some women can be very sensitive to the extent that that woman might not come close to you again.
Yes.
So it's a very delicate issue, and it will take prayer and tact to be able to handle your mom, especially if the mom is a single mom. She raised you single-handedly, or she is a widow and she doesn't have anybody to look up to. She only looks up to you. So if you are a man like that, you have to know how to gradually detach yourself from your mom. You can talk to her, oh mom, right now I'm growing, I need to bond with my wife as well. Doesn't mean that we are cutting off, but once a while, I'll be calling, I'll be visiting you, and you should be able to do that for your mom so that there will not be that rivalry.
Yes.
Yes, you see, you are not cutting off from your mom. You are only saying that, Mom, I love you. I love you as a mother. I love my wife as a wife.
That's right.
And so my relationship with you is intact. However, if you would interfere with our relationship, you see, it won't help us. And you want our marriage to work. So, Mom, give us space when it comes to our marriage. Not your mom visiting you or talking to you because she's your mom. She's the mom of but there should be that line. You see, at times it may be harsh, but there are some sicknesses that the only way, but traditionally, we say that utu jato. You see, jato is an incurable sore. Like normal, I think it used to be cancer. Those days, the only way they treated it was with hot water. Utu jato is it's very painful. And then when it happens, those days you hurt yourself, they put iodine in it. Iodine is very painful, but it helps. So there are times some of these things, it's painful, but you have to say it. And when you say it, you are saying it to your mother, and you still love her, and you still treat her well, whatever she needs, you still provide, etc. But if you don't get that space for your marriage, you are in trouble.
On that note, if you are on the other side, now we are talking about the man or the woman speaking with their parents. If you're on the other side, from the beginning, how do you start the relationship with your in-laws such that you have a very peaceable relationship, not one with so much conflict? How do you...
That means if you are an in-law,
yes,
let's say you're a mother or father-in-laws or...
No, so
brother.
if I'm married to... so my wife, how does my wife begin to relate with my parents? Or if it's a woman watching, how does the husband begin to relate, with the in-laws from the beginning to make sure that there's a peaceable, relationship, a very amicable? How should they, when the first time they get to the house, how should they carry themselves? How should they treat their in-laws and all that to make sure that, they don't even get to the point where conflicts begin, where, you have put the in-law in a good place where the in-law knows that, this is a very good.
If you are a daughter-in-law, maybe you are married to a man, you are a lady. First impression counts. First day you go, I think that's what I think. You should impress your in-law.
That is during the courtship.
Yes.
During the courtship.
Yes.
Before even the wedding. Your dressing will count. Some in-laws can be very fussy. They'll look at your dressing, the way you dress, your hair, your everything. When you come to the house, the way you sit is also an issue to some in-laws. Whether you sit well, they will be watching. How did she sit? Did she cross her legs? How did she behave? when she came to the house, how did she talk? These things are, some in-laws will observe all these things. And so first...
Are you saying you observe all these things?
I didn't care anyway. Because I have a daughter, so I don't know. So the seed I sow, I'm going to reap it. So some in-laws can be very, very detailed and they want to see all these things. So when you are during courting, you have to behave well, not pretend. You have to behave well, the way you talk, the way you talk to your mother or your father-in-law, or maybe your husband-to-be. They will be watching whether this lady, when she comes to the house, she won't give us problems. So I think that first impressions counts a lot.
I also think that during the courtship, you must study or know a bit about the culture and the customs and the home culture. Every house have their culture. And so you must have a little understanding of how their culture is, how the family behaves, so that you will know how to fit in. Because if you don't understand, you would offend. If you don't understand, you would offend. For us as preachers, when you even go into a church to preach, it's the same thing. You study the atmosphere before you start preaching, so that you know, because there are some nuances you don't want to exhibit in certain places. So if you are courting, you must study the culture and the basic customs of the people. Understand, in this home that I'm going, what are the things that matter to them? And you can easily know the things that matter to them by talking to your spouse. So when you talk to your spouse will let you understand some of the things that are important, so that you won't begin to offend your in-laws when you go in.
But you also find yourself, you also hear situations where there are in-laws or parent-in-laws who want to deliberately break the marriage. Everything they are doing, you can just tell that they just want this marriage to just break apart. How do you handle in-laws like that? You are doing everything to impress them, you can't impress them, but everything that they are doing from their end, it looks like they just want to split the two of us apart. They are not happy that we are together. How do you handle such in-laws?
Sometimes I think that most of the cases are childless couples. When maybe an in-law is expecting a child just after the son or daughter marries, and the child is not forthcoming, then they will be tempted. Some mothers-in-law or fathers-in-law would be asking questions. And when is the baby coming? When is the baby coming? And so, if you don't take care, they might even decide to frustrate the marriage, put something in the mind of the man, especially. It's always the man. Sometimes maybe the problem will be with the man, but the parent will be hammering it. I want a grandchild. I want a grandchild. And if it gets into the head of the son, then by the time the son realizes he is off, he'll be putting pressure on the wife, and if you don't take care, that brings about a break in the relationship. At times, that's what happens.
Some mothers also influence their daughters to come out of the marriage because probably the man is
Stingy.
It's not stingy. Doesn't have a raise and a lift.
Okay.
And some also will say that you are not pulling your weight. You don't have money. You don't have money. I wanted you to marry a rich person. Akwesi is there who wanted to marry you, and you went in for. I mean, if he's not pulling his weight, they talk to the mind of the lady. They influence her in such a way to come out. If she doesn't come out immediately, you will see her flirting with the so-called rich person. In so doing, you are destroying the marriage of your daughter. But you don't know what will happen after a turn of events. The person that might not have money now, after some time, the doors will open, may come to church like Perez, and Bishop will pray, a breakthrough prayer, and something great will come the way of the man. Then you will see that you didn't wait on the Lord. So such things, I mean, we are seated here trying to stop things like that. If they are married, leave them to marry. Let them go through the valleys and the hills themselves. They will settle.
All right. Ronald, what do you think?
Some of the problems where it comes like you are describing normally actually even start even before the marriage. There are times where you are going to a home, you realize that
you are not welcome.
You are not welcome. I mean, there are people who, their mothers or father will say, after this marriage, it won't work. Or I don't want to. And at times, the couples will love each other and that kind of thing, and they go in. My counsel about those is that look at the fight and find out whether you can fight. Because there are some battles you realize that you don't have the ribs to be able to fight. Because there are times in some peculiar cases the mother is even married, spiritually married to the daughter, and at times both. At times some can marry to the daughter and spiritual marriage, it's both, either to the son or the daughter, and therefore right from the beginning, he has made you know that where you are coming, you are not welcome. And so, if you decide to go anyway, then be prepared to fight. Because these things, most of them, they are spiritual battles. Most of the cases where the people are meant to destroy the relationship, you realize that they are spiritual undertones. They are spiritual undertones. There's something spiritual about the whole thing. And there's more of prayer, believing God, breaking things and that. But somebody will be listening. You can avoid that. I was preaching somewhere and there was a relationship like that. And I said, if you can fight, you think that you can fight, fight. If you realize that where the thing is going, you can't fight, stop. When you finish, somebody came to stop. Immediately you said that, I decided to leave the thing. Today, the person has married another person, and the marriage is good.
Yes, but there are some who, also decide that I like this fight.
Yeah,
because there are people that like challenges. I like challenges. There are people who like challenges, and so, yes, I love this lady. I love this man. The parents, they don't have any reason. They are not giving any. You see, there are times if the parents are able to give, they might have sensible reasons why. But if it's just a subjective reason, maybe I don't like the tribe, maybe, things like that. I mean, and you are convinced that this is the one you want to marry, go for it. What you do is, if you know that the parents are, and you are going for it, then the two of you must make it such that you are not going to allow anything to break the relationship. You are determined to bond and to prove to everybody that was wishing you evil that you can make it. But hey, it's not all the time you have to run away from it.
My next question is in twofold. Can I confront my in-law, or should I allow my spouse to do that? Then the next part of the question is, when is it the right time to tell my in-law enough is enough? Or to tell them, you have stayed in my house for too long, I think it's time to go back.
You don't have to ever do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let your spouse, whose parents are, let them do that. Because once you do that, you have become public enemy number one. Yeah. And there's no way you can heal that relationship again. So let your spouse do that. And as much as possible, be nice. However, there are some in-laws that are trouble. They'll come and stay. They know that this man and woman, they have a chamber and a hall. And they will come and stay. Chamber and a hall. Even the last time there was one we were dealing with, one room, and the in-law has come to stay there. So if there's a move, how can they move? So this one, you see that the in-law came purposely to break the marriage. Because if you didn't come to break the marriage, why would you come and stay in a single room of your son or your daughter who is married? And so you don't confront your in-laws. It doesn't work.
Sometimes if you feel that maybe your parents have overlived where your house or where you are staying, maybe they don't have a comfortable home like they have come to meet. And so you can get some money, go and rent a comfortable place, make the place very habitable for them to live, and they'll give you peace.
Is there a place for correcting in-laws? And how do parent-in-laws correct their sons or daughters-in-law? And are sons and daughters-in-laws allowed to correct their parents-in-laws as well? So is there a place for confrontation? Maybe there's no place.
Not confrontation.
If I see something...
Yes, the word is not confrontation.
Not confrontation.
Okay.
You see, if a parent-in-law treats the daughter or son-in-law as their child, then they can speak into their lives. So if they are doing something which is not right, they can advise them and say that A, B, C, D you are doing, it won't augur well with you. Yes. And because they've treated that son-in-law or daughter-in-law as a child, that person respects them. He knows that there is love, because faithful are the wounds of a friend and the kisses of an enemy. They know that what my parent-in-laws are sharing with me, they are not against me. But you don't correct your parent-in-law. You don't do it. If there is something they've done you don't like, look for somebody who is their level to talk to them. Or talk to your spouse about it. Let your spouse find a nice way to deal with it, because it will be very upset for you to go and correct your
I think the relationship...
There will be a lot of disrespect.
An in-law should be able to build a good relationship with...
That's the parent-in-law or
yeah.
the son-in-law.
The son-in-law or the daughter-in-law should be able to build a very good relationship with the parents-in-law. If you build a very good relationship with your parents-in-law, you can be bold to say something when you see something wrong. Maybe your mother-in-law comes to visit you. Oh, Mom, your hair is very untidy. Can I take you to the salon and fix your hair? Or...
So that one is not correction.
Oh, it's a way of correcting. Maybe you've seen it over and over again. She comes and the hair is shabby.
Hey. You are saying, in a way you are trying to say it's in the dream form.
The relationship is already built.
Mama wouldn't mind. I would also not mind, because I always want to see what the young ones are doing.
Yes.
Mom, let me take you to the dentist. Let them.
You are saying that underneath the teeth there is plaque.
If the relationship is good.
So, the relationship, because recently we complained of our teeth, and it was my daughter-in-law who introduced us to a colleague dentist.
No. You complained.
Yes.
But she didn't come to say,
Let me get you a dental visit.
Mama, can I take you to the dentist? That one, it may sound as if your mouth is smelling or your teeth are not clean.
I'm saying if the relationship is built, can't you tell your mom that, Mom, I want to be fixing your hair?
Oh, no. if you are saying that I want to be fixing her, yes. If you are saying that, oh, I have a dentist, anytime you want to see the dentist, I can take you to my dentist. Anytime you want to see the hairdresser, let me take you to the salon.
Okay.
But if you, because her hair is sakatu, you just say that, Mama, today let's go to the
I don't see
anything wrong.
There's a lot.
I think that like people say, when it comes to in-laws, the guiding principle is respect, tact, diplomacy. Respect, tact, diplomacy. Because even in father-son relationship, when your daddy has done something and you want to correct, the way to do it, if you want to have a husband-wife relationship, the way you correct your husband, he might be wrong. But if you don't correct him properly, he gets angry. You see, so it's the same thing that your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, the way they are, to correct them is most of the time it's better to allow your spouse, who is the father or the mother, to correct. But it depends on perhaps how you build a relationship. I mean, like, let's take our case for example. My son, my daughter-in-law, Akosia, we have visited there few times, and it's courtesies. That I can't see how my wife has a problem and Akosia will be able to come and say, Mommy, it's not there.
Mama, let me take you to the dentist. When she hasn't said she wants to see a dentist.
But what's wrong with that?
I know.
Some in-laws may not be
suggesting.
You see, if you are saying that, Mama, I'm going to the dentist, will you go with me? But you look at your in-law. Mama, your hair. I'm taking. When you come back, you.
I think if you build a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that.
No. I think you can't you won't correct.
It's not correction.
You will suggest that, look, Mama, I have this nice hairdresser. Can we go and fix our hair? You see, to make it look like your mother-in-law, she's been coming like a fetish priestess. So you want to.
Or maybe you can tell the spouse.
In the olden days, the fetish priestesses, they used to do rasta. So that's why
you can suggest
correction of parents-in-laws to their sons or daughters-in-laws must be on the basis of a relationship.
Yes.
That makes it okay.
Yes.
I think.
But then, if you want to suggest, there must be a lot of tact and diplomacy in doing it. You know, there must be respect, tact, and diplomacy.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Hi, my name is Nana McBrown, and we all have to know that Ghana comes first.
I'm Bishop Ajina Sari. Choose Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Hi, lovely people. Ghana First.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Election 2020.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Ghana First.
2020 dear. Assembly Damakumaso. Ghana First.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest. Ghana Fest.
We've got a good reputation. Let us continue to maintain it. Ghana Fest.
No pay inta make nyechiake. Ghana ko metu pe woyo.
Peace, during and after elections. Ghana Fest.
Me NDC ni.
Me NPP ni.
Edu abatwa Ghana Fest.
Ghana Fest.
we are just going to go straight to the questions we have. And I'm beginning this evening with a very long question we had from one of our viewers who wants to remain anonymous. And she says, "Good evening, counselors. I'm in a relationship with a certain guy. He told me to send him to my hometown to introduce him to my mother after accepting his proposal. But I told him to wait a little, or I will call my mother to my place because she used to come there, so that I'll introduce him. And when we are preparing to get married, I'll send him to my hometown to greet my mother. This is because I sent one guy to my house and the marriage didn't come on. And it's not only my mother in the house. It is a compound house, and all my mother's siblings will come and sit in. But the guy is fighting with me and I don't love him. The guy is fighting with me that I don't love him. I informed my pastor that another man has proposed to me, so he should help me in prayers. And he told me to tell him he wants to see him. I told my guy and he collected my pastor's number and went without informing me. But one thing is that he told one of my staff members that I sent him to my pastor instead of sending him to my mother. So I don't love him. So the love he has for me has even decreased totally. I don't know what to do. Is it bad to introduce your guy first to your pastor? I need your advice. What should I do? A very long one.
I think that the lady understands the family background she's coming from. The lady understands the spiritual dynamics of some of these things. There are times people think that life is just natural, but we are spirit, soul, and body. And so when you don't understand all these dynamics, you go through problems. I know people who lived there was this gentleman in the church I used to I preach in the UK. He's lived there for 20 years. Then he got his papers. He decided to come home to visit. He came home to visit, and he was going back to the UK, had an accident on the Winneba Road, and died. His son came. The son didn't want to come back home, but when the son was 20 years, he also decided to come. Almost at the same spot where his father had the accident was where he also had an accident. I know people who have. There was a man I knew in the 80s. He had lived in America for 40 years and decided to come and visit the mother. He came. He's married there. He has children, etc. And in those days, if you had a green card or American and you came and stayed more than 6 months, you lost it. Now this guy came, bought a ticket, and there are different types of air tickets. An Apex ticket, you can't change the dates. And he came and he overstayed. He couldn't change the dates. Finally his green card expired. The guy died in Ghana as a pauper. And so this lady, I understand her. She knows because look, whether we like it or not, witchcraft is real. And in Africa, African electronics is very effective. There are times people want to make it look like it doesn't happen. It happens. This lady took somebody to visit the family, and the guy immediately, they made her face look like Akamotobi to the guy. The guy left her. She should explain to this gentleman. Her pastor should also explain to the gentleman that, look, your lady is preventing you from all these mojos and psychic and witchcraft attacks. I think that the lady, look, sister, if you are watching us, you did the right thing. Don't feel bad for understanding this thing. But what you must do is convince the man to understand where you are coming from. It's very important.
So at what point does she take him to that?
If I were her, I would convince my mother to come to town and meet the guy. He should convince the guy that, look, these are the things we are confronted with. And so, Mama, come and meet the guy. Come and meet the guy in town.
This is also from one of our viewers. Hello, good evening. I'm really enjoying your program. My question is, my parents live with my wife and I in my house. but there has always been a misunderstanding between my wife and my dad. What should I do? Should I leave my own house to go and rent with my wife, or have to move my parents out?
I think he should rent a good house for his parents and let them move to that place, so that he and his wife would have peace. Yes.
I also think he should be very tactful, do it in a very respectful way, that his parents will not think that he's just driving them away. He should do it nicely, tell them, oh, we want to try and make our family work. So we are getting you a place so that we can be visiting regularly. It should be very nice, in a nice way.
Good evening. Please, what gift can I give to my mother-in-law? How do you pick a gift for your mother-in-law or father-in-law? How do you?
Depending on the mother-in-law, the social status, where she's living, maybe she's in the village or in the city.
If you go to buy a mobile phone for a mother-in-law in a place without electricity,
it won't mean anything to that mother-in-law. So you should study.
Come and charge it to your house.
Yes. If you go to buy a perfume for somebody who is a farmer, doesn't go anywhere. She's always going to the farm. It doesn't mean anything.
She even think you are saying she's
so she might need monetary gifts. Or she might need a fabric to sew something. And so depending on...
if she's a farmer, she might need cutlasses, maybe fertilizer, something like that.
Something that...
Cooking utensils.
Yes. Seed money to trade or something. But if she's in the city, maybe... Some people like flowers, some people like perfume.
Necklaces,
watches. So you can choose.
Fabric.
Yeah.
What about wigs?
Wigs.
If she wears wigs.
If she wears wigs.
Not every woman likes the gift of a wig.
Yeah.
You know. So you must know your mother-in-law.
Your mother-in-law.
You know.
What she likes.
Makeup?
At least ask.
Yeah.
You can ask.
Ask from the daughter or somebody who is close to the woman.
Good evening, Daddy. Please, I'm having a problem with my mother-in-law. The issue is that anytime my beloved buys something for her, she doesn't seem to appreciate me. The Bible says the two shall be one flesh. So I don't understand why she always thanks my beloved. Is it because it is her son who buys it? Thank you, and God bless you for addressing this issue.
What the son should do is anytime he's sending a gift, he should say, this is coming from us. He should always present the gifts in both names so that his mother knows that it is together with his wife that they are doing that. When he keeps doing that for a while, the mother will stop. You see, the mother, if he's not careful, the mother will do divide and rule and create problems for them, because very soon the lady will begin to pressurize the husband that your mother doesn't like me. And so the man should be wise enough to make sure that he's always sending the things in both names, and even get the wife to at times, or there are times he's sending something, he should just say, oh, my wife says I should bring this to you. Okay. You know, because he wants the wife to have a good relationship with the man.
Yeah.
Should be smart.
Okay. This is from Alex from Kumasi. He says, I'm married to a lady for 12 years now with 2 kids. I'm based in Kumasi with my wife in Cape Coast. She's attached to her father such that even if she's visiting me, her father will come with her and wait to return with her, regardless of the period she spends with me. Her father is a pastor too. I am dying slowly because other women are giving me pressure, but I'm not ready to sin at all. I am well established and responsible. What should I do? I need my wife.
I'm wondering whether it's a proper married ceremony has gone on and the father knows that my daughter is married.
Oh, he's married.
He's married. They have 2 children.
And they've been married for 12 years.
For 12 years.
They have 2 kids.
So it's strange.
Yeah.
So I think that since it's a pastor, perhaps the woman can get another pastor here, the man respects, and let her know that, and speak to the pastor that this thing is not right, because it's quite abnormal for especially a pastor to behave like that. So
the pastor is emotionally married to the daughter.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he needs to break it. Sure. You know, if he works in a church, in a denomination, some of his denominational leaders should be contacted to speak to him so that he can cut off those strings from the daughter. I mean, he can't destroy the daughter's marriage because the guy is saying he's a responsible gentleman. So I want to assume he's not abusing her physically. Now, why would your daughter go and visit the husband and you go with? And why should you even allow your daughter to come and live with you?
Yeah. This is strange.
You know, if Alex is watching from Kumasi, you should get somebody in the church of the pastor. You see, some of the senior people to talk to him because it's not proper.
This is from one of our viewers from Nigeria, and I think it's a lady. She says, good evening, Bishop. I'm writing from Nigeria. After my marriage introduction and the collection of the engagement list, I took seed. Because of the pregnancy, every other marriage rites were stopped. Now we have 3 children, and things are not going well with us. I have to cry and pray hard before things will move well. My spouse's mother is taking things easy with us. I think she's trying to say he's not taking things easy with us, and praying that God will bless his son to enable him finish the marriage rites. But my own family is not taking it easy with me. Okay, so the man's mother is allowing them, but the lady's parents are giving them problems. Anytime they visit, they make sure they let my neighbors know that my bride price has not been paid. I know that I failed them, but they are making my life a living hell. What should I do? Should I come out of the marriage with my 3 children? I cry every day asking God for his mercy. I don't know what to do. My neighbors know that my bride price has not been paid because my family members came and made trouble with us.
No, the issue, her parents are not insinuating that she should come out of the marriage. Her parents want the right thing to be done. You see, as long as this man is not married to you, when something even happens, now, if he were a Ghanaian and he died, you wouldn't even be allowed to bury him. You wouldn't even be recognized as a widow. And so that's why her relatives are very, or they are pressurizing the guy. And so what the lady should do is encourage the husband, encourage the man she's living in fornication with, and help him to go and marry her. It's very important as soon as possible. You know, they have children, so working out of the relationship, who will take care of her and the kids? But as soon as possible, because they are living in fornication. You can't be asking for mercy like she's saying, and after asking for mercy, you go back into the same thing. So whatever they can do to make sure that the marriage is properly done, they do it. Yes.
This one says, I'm the only son to my mother, and she has gotten used to seeing me as her only companion. Now that I've gotten married, she's tormenting me to come and live with her and my wife. My question now is, should I go and live with her together with my wife, or should I stay separately away from her, since she stays alone and there is no one staying with her?
I would say that they should look for help for her to stay with the mother, and because from the narration, the mother wants to possess him, and so if he allows it, they will be rivals. The mother and the wife, they will be rivals, and it won't augur well for the relationship. So I think that it is better to get somebody to go and live with the mother, and then once a while visit the mother.
Nana from Kumasi, please, good evening, counselors. Please, how can you deal with an in-law who always calls and wants to know anything that goes on in the marriage? Like, is your man taking care of you well? And even what we are eating, I have this challenge and I need help. Thank you.
just decide not to give the information that the person wants. I mean, there's a way to answer certain questions where after some time he won't ask those questions again because it's not right. So find a way. If he's insisting, there's a very nice way of letting him know, oh, mommy, these questions, please. Is everything's okay? So
I also think that there are times some in-laws, it's not out of mischievousness. Some is just out of concern. So if your in-law calls you and wants to know how things are, have you eaten, what kind of food you ate, if it's not with any bad motive, because there are times we are too programmed against in-laws that harmless in-laws and loving in-laws are driven away. One of my in-laws told me that, look, that if you see a problem with me, call me and talk to me like any of your children, And for me, that was very important, So for somebody like that, I can easily ask, oh, so how is my son treating you well? And it's not because of any ulterior motive. It's because you want. So there are times we should look at the in-law. Is the in-law a difficult person? Does the in-law wish you harm? If the in-law wishes you well and wants to see everything good for you, I don't see why it should be a problem, except that in-law is a troublesome one.
So we are going to open the phone lines to hear from you. So callers would like to hear from you and hear your question to the counselors. So this question says, if your in-law has overstayed their welcome, but your spouse finds no problem and doesn't want to talk, can you do anything about it? Or should you do anything?
It's a delicate one.
Very delicate.
It's a delicate one. It's your spouse who should be able to tell the mother or father that you have stayed for too long. However, the in-laws must also be sensitive. Unfortunately, there are some people, they don't seem to see. And they don't seem to feel. They don't have feeling. And then especially, if where they live, it's very hot, and your house, you have AC, or and your house is always cool. Where they are, they don't have a fridge, and you have fridge, and every time they can drink cold water, they won't go. So you may have to also get a fridge there. You may have to buy a cooler. Now they have all these cooling fans where you fetch water and put in the fan in it and then send it to them. There are times when you take care of some of the basic things. Those in-laws, they won't want to stay in your house again.
Please, can I pick this call? Good evening, Vivian.
Hello, good evening.
Yes. So you are live on Ask the Counselors. Please summarize your question, very short, but
okay. My brother has a problem. My brother has been married for the past 7 years.
Okay.
And since after the wedding, his mother-in-law never went home.
Okay.
He's just at the house there. My brother is now tired with her. She should go back to her home. She said she won't go. Her daughter too said her mother is still moving an inch.
Okay.
The mother is what?
So now my brother is confused.
Okay. So
and he's always giving them so many problems.
So what's your question?
Always to my brother and all those things.
What's a solution?
And now my brother too is fed up with the whole situation. So my brother have to go out and look for a room and rent a place and stay and leave them in their house to take care of them.
So what's your question?
My brother do now in this situation?
Vivian, what's your question?
Hello?
Yeah, so what's your question, Vivian? So are you asking?
My question is, what we, the family of the man, what can we do?
Okay.
to bring them back together.
Okay. All right.
Because my brother still loves the woman, and the woman loves my brother. But the mother is the problem.
Okay.
But the 7 good years, that's from the church. This woman is just saying we can have to do.
All right. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Vivian. Straight from the church. Straight from the church. The woman.
After the wedding.
Straight from the church. She packed in with them.
So the lady's mother is a problem.
Yeah, the lady.
Either she doesn't wish her daughter well, or she probably doesn't know where she's going to stay. And so he should find out. And if she doesn't know where she's going to stay, he should go get, if he can, help get her, rent her a place to stay in her hometown or somewhere.
So that the daughter will be visiting.
Yes, so that she will be visiting. The daughter once a while can go and visit her.
Yeah. We have our last caller for the night. We have John from Achimota. Good evening, John. Make it quick because of time, so that we can give you an answer before we close. Yes, go ahead, John.
Okay, thank you very much, Reverend. About an issue that was discussed earlier, about the Nanaya, the father with that man and their son issue. So I want to ask, if the man is coming to the lady again with help or support, if the lady doesn't have any help anywhere or anybody in her life for her to be supported, should the lady accept that help or she should go cry?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Said the old man decided that he would support her when she told her that she doesn't love him. So now he's like a father figure to her. So, yeah, Nanaya should go on and look for somebody, her age group, and marry. Yes.
What if her blessing is in the son?
That's what that one.
The man says no.
The man says no, and it will be somehow.
He will be happy in the marriage.
The man will always feel that he's been cheated. And the man, but the boy, you what your father liked. Bad boy.
All right. So on that note, we call it a night. Thank you for joining us. Next week, we are dedicating the program once again to answering your questions. Next week, same time, we'll be coming your way with Ask the Counselors. And I'm going to hand over to Bishop as we agree in prayer. Bishop, over to you.
Okay, let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, we join our faith together. We pray for every viewer and anyone listening to us. Lord, we ask that you meet them at their point of need, those whose marriages are going through challenges. Touch them, oh God, and those believing you for children, meet them at their point of need. Those believing you for a spouse, let it happen for them. Those believing you for the money to get married, Lord, do it for them. And those whose children are going wayward, we pray that you touch them and change their story. In Jesus' name, we call it done. Amen.
Amen. So thank you once again. Have a pleasant evening and a blessed week. God be with you. Bye-bye.